invest in yourself, because if you're not going to invest in yourself and you don't have trust in yourself, you have the true control over, then what are you investing in? Because it's not going to give you the same rewards as yourself.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Woman podcast. I am super excited to bring to the show today one of my clients, Shannon Pawley, who is a totally unstoppable woman. She is a complete badass in her life and her business. I've worked primarily with her on her business, but there have been some life stuff that it's all part and parcel of the same package, because we don't change who we are in different places in our world, whether it's life or business, husband, coworkers, whatever. All of that, it all is part of the package. And it's my great honor to have her here to share her story about, what the last few years has been like for her and how things have changed. And hopefully by listening to her story, you'll be able to take away some really good nuggets that you can apply to your own business so that you can, be unstoppable, scale, go to the next level, and do it in a way with more ease and grace, which is what Shannon is all about. And one more thing, and then I'm going to let Shannon introduce herself. I'm going to keep talking for 1 second. Shannon is the voice on many of our earlier Coaching Uncut episodes. So if you've been a loyal listener for a while, you will recognize that previously we had been putting out many of the coaching calls that Shannon and I had done together. And she very generously offered that up to my audience, which I'm incredibly appreciative of. So if you're appreciative of that as well, give her a shout out and say thank you in some form, right? On social media or however you can find her. I'm sure that she would appreciate knowing that her generosity was well used, I guess, appreciated, something like that. Anyways, welcome to the show, Shannon. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Amira. It's a pleasure to be here. As you stated, I have actually been under your tutelage, shall we say, honestly, for a short period of time, but the growth has been astounding. I have been privately coached by you since February of this year. And I myself, by profession, I am an attorney. I actually own a estate and asset protection law firm in Metro Atlanta. And as you'll recall, when I first came to you at what was originally, and it still is, the Spirit of Wealth International Mastermind Retreat in February, I remember also coming to you with the I want more, I need more. Yeah. And I don't know which one of those comments came first, I need or I want, but they were both at that same time, because where I was at that moment was I was coming off of a year where I just purchased the firm 6 weeks before COVID hit.
Wow.
And so needless to say, I guess I think the saying is play hard or go home. And definitely that was a lot to chew my teeth on alone that first year through COVID. And I was coming off of a year where I was in the red. And I needed to clean myself up on the interior so I could shine as a beacon to my clients instead of a dim light that they would have a hard time seeing me. And I think that's a lot what we've worked on through a lot of our coaching is finding my inner light and bringing it to the firm as a whole in my business endeavors. And I really appreciate that greatly.
I love that. I think that's absolutely true, right? COVID it's a huge situation that can be traumatizing for business owners. It's traumatizing for many people for obvious reasons, but you just had bought the firm and you had to get your feet grounded, and you didn't have time really to get your feet grounded when this hit, but you've done an excellent job course correcting. And this year, 2021, which we thought would be, least I thought was going to be on the other side of COVID at this point, but it has turned out not to be, has been, can you talk to our audience about your actual numbers or whatever you feel comfortable with, because you've done extraordinarily well in this year, even though there's been not just COVID, but quite a few hurdles that you've had to jump over, if you will.
Yes. So what I'll emphasize is when I first went under the private coaching with you, my monthly income at that time was averaging right between 60 and 70,000 a month, which unfortunately was just hitting my nut of expenses. And what I will emphasize is starting basically, I will say immediately in February, I hit 102. I've had high months of 133. But one of the things that I do emphasize is one of the things that I did when I was working with you through additional coaching that I have with other coaches is working on my budget. And I have thus far each month in 2021 exceeded my budget number of income each month. And there's many factors, but what I will say is we attract that which we put out into the universe. And you have helped me to not only recognize a lot of the universal laws, but also put me in check when I would start going down in those quick course corrections. That's really what it is. I can't say if there's a secret sauce is quick course corrections. Yeah. There's no special formula for income. There's no special formula for marketing. It's all test and quick course correction. And that's what we've worked on together that I love.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. There's two things. Well, there's 50 gazillion things in there that I want to follow up on. But the two that are most important to me are this idea of the quick course corrections, but also, well, one, let's take a pause and just say congratulations. So just to reiterate, from 60 to 70 on average, just mating her nut, which is, if you've ever been at that place before, how stressful that is. Every month you're like, am I going to make payroll? And of course she makes payroll because she's not going to let her world down, right? She's good to her word, but that's a stressful situation. And it was just getting by. And the work that we did and other work that you did helped with this. And you got to 102, 133. And one of the things that I think was really effective was when we started tracking your numbers every single time we talked, the beginning of every single call. And I love that about you, Shannon, because you're so good with your numbers, right? Like you would be like, here's my goal. This is percent to goal. This is this is the number. This is what I think is coming in today and tomorrow. And it would be, you got so excited about it and it kept you on track, right?
Yes.
Okay. Great. And I forgot the other two things I was going to follow up on. Shoot, look at that, down a rabbit hole. What were you just saying? Oh, the quick course corrections.
Quick course corrections,
there
yes.
we go. So, and the universal law piece, because let's start with the universal law piece, because I think this is the biggest challenge for people. They go, that's just woo, that's just fluff. That's just, how is that applicable to business? So can you give maybe a specific example about how we use that to help you in your business?
One of the big ones for myself is well, before I get to the universal law, I want to emphasize that the universe is always talking to you. And this is my experience here. And that is, you can try to ignore when the universe is knocking on your door, and then they're going to ring your doorbell. And next thing, they're going to start slamming down the door. And before you know it, if you keep ignoring the universe trying to hide in the security of your home will be set ablaze. And that is what happened to me this year. There was specific topics that I was working with Amira on, going, I wish, I want, but I can't. I wish, I want, but I can't. And what is really funny, when I was literally pushed off of the cliff on this specific topic. Instead of falling, I started flying, because guess what? Everything was always there. And I thought that was the biggest woo.
Totally.
You know?
So let me pause you there for 1 second. So I'm going to contextualize this. There is the law of polarity, which says, when the desire is felt, the supply is always there, which means everything that you want, that you truly want, not someone else's want, not a fake want, not a should, or maybe that would be nice, but a true desire, everything that you truly desire is here, and it's here now. It's not being held back from you. It's just that you're not seeing what the channel is, the mechanism for actualizing it. And this is what I was teaching. And Shannon, I don't know what the right expression is, but she had her number called, right? She was like, we kept like working on this and and she's, I need to focus on this. I want to do this. Right. And the signs just kept getting bigger and bigger until it was time. And the universe was like, okay, you are not listening. And when I say universe, use the word that makes sense to you: God, spirit, source, infinite intelligence, all the energy that is. But there is a life force that is for your good. And if you don't listen, then it tries to wake you up in so many ways, including ways that on the surface don't feel like it's for your good, which is exactly the situation that Shannon experienced. And she was bopped on the head big time. We won't go into the details of what that was, but it was something that could have easily put someone like under the covers, under the rug, hiding for cover for 6 months to a year. Okay. It was a major thing. And she turned it around in a week. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is exceptional. So what else would you like to say about that? Because I can feel your pregnancy there, right?
Oh, there's that pregnancy word.
Yeah.
But what I would emphasize is that prior to February, when I started working with you, the event would probably have been one of my top 3 lowest points in my life, but it was a blip. It was a blip. And I had my emotional reaction. And then it was, okay, get down to business. We got this. And it was very freeing. And I don't know how else to describe it except for law of polarity in action. And that's all that I can say. And that's definitely one of my big themes, because that is what I'm noticing. The moment that when I'm needing and I am truly being open to that need, it is always there. Whether it be, I need sales. Oh, well, guess what? I get contacted by the AJC here in Atlanta, and now all of a sudden I've got a wonderful marketing relationship with them. Oh my gosh, I have an employee that just, quit. Wow, I just found a person part-time live and a remote person, within
in an instant, right?
Yeah, in an instant. It was like less than a week.
So let me break this down for our listeners here, because when Shannon is saying this, it's so easy to say like, oh yeah, the team member quits and you hire someone else. Of course you do. But the truth is, most people, when a team member quits, have a very strong emotional reaction. They start feeling all sorts of feelings that are sometimes justified, sometimes not, but it throws them out of momentum, and it can take weeks, months to hire someone and to recoup, even though on the surface it seems like a fairly simple thing. And one of the things that you're really good about, Shannon, is that when we're on the coaching calls, you'll bring something to the call, and then you're coachable, is what I'm going to say. Okay. We will talk about different possible solutions, and you'll give me the yay or nay, or I could do that, or I can't do that, or this is a challenge. And then you'll like filter it. Well, if there's any sort of internal block, we'll work through that block. But then you take that coaching and you filter it and you act on it immediately. Like you are someone who I have zero doubt about in terms of accountability. Like you go and execute on the stuff. So I just want to reflect that to you. And for our listeners, one of the things that Shannon does is she's a quick action taker. It's one of the things that I teach is it's immediate, massive, and consistent action. And she's doing all three. Sometimes it's massive, not all the time, but sometimes it's massive. But she takes that quick action and she puts things in momentum very quickly. And it's one of the ways that you really scaled so quickly. Part of it was also a few little tweaks that we did around
Yes.
The sales process. And do you want to speak to that at all? Do you feel comfortable with that?
Oh, certainly. I am probably one of the odd ones that I love sales. I enjoy sales. I look at it as a game. And in my competitive nature, I always want to win the game. And so as I sit down and I try to always perfect my sales strategy in my sales presentation, because I believe it's ever evolving and it's unique to the audience you're before at the moment. And I was having a problem where I was having persons that were on the fence, almost at the ability to tip, but they weren't tipping in my direction. And so you and I were chatting about that. And we started coming up with different thoughts, such as a quick deciders bonus.
So can I interject here?
Oh, please.
So one of the things that Shannon is fabulous at is in-person sales. And
yes.
And if I'm correct, my understanding is you love the relationship. You love meeting with people. You love getting to know them. You love the context, and you felt like that was your superpower. Like when you were in the room with someone, they could really sense your energy of wanting to serve them and help them. And it was very easy to, I mean, you had studied sales and you had learned a bunch of stuff, but it was fairly easy for you to get a yes for your sales. And yet with COVID, so much of the sales were happening over Zoom, and your flow of how you did the sales shifted because of the medium. Okay, I'm going to hand it back to you. So we had to problem solve for that. Okay.
And there was. So talking about that is 100% true, because it is a different energy and connection you're having with the person via Zoom. And one of the things that I felt I was so successful with my face-to-faces is I would always, after I've done my presentation, I'm going to step out of the room now for about 5 minutes. I'm going to draft up the legal services agreement. Please talk amongst yourselves or review your notes. When I come back, ask questions. And one of the problems I was having is we were talking, well, I'm missing that. And I think that's a big part. And then,
and it was a big part because oftentimes it's couples or mother and daughter. You do elder law. So it's all, there's families as a part of this, and they didn't have a chance to confer with each other in the Zoom conversation. They were kind of put on the spot, not knowing what the other person thought. Okay.
Exactly. So what we ended up working out together is what I will call the virtual stepping out of the room by putting them in a breakout room.
Yeah.
And it worked wonderfully. People are familiar enough now with Zoom to know that they can speak in privacy in a breakout room and nobody's recording or hearing. And they don't just suddenly show up in the room with me again. They have their 1-minute warning. And that ended up being the strongest substitute for the communication between the clients for their confirmation of wanting to move forward. So that was a small tweak, but that was a big tweak.
Yeah. So let's because I remember that conversation. That was like a quick 5-7 minute conversation. This was not a long conversation. And and it was like, oh, why don't you just put them in breakout rooms? And you're like, oh yeah, why don't I just put them in breakout rooms? And off to the races you are. And that small tweak, what do you think that was worth in terms of revenue generated since you started doing that?
I would say that for immediate conversion, without the need for my team to do follow-ups with the risk of them going cold, I would say that's at least 5 conversions a month at an average case value of $65.80, which totals out to about $33,000.
And how many months have you been doing it now?
I've been doing it now for probably about 5 months.
5 months. So that is I'm doing some quick math, $185,000 revenue boost from one small little tweak. Okay. So my point is, in like putting numbers to this, that, something can happen. It's not the amount of time, it's the potency of the solution. Okay.
100%.
And your ability to execute, because I did not do the execution. I gave you a little tip, a little tweak, and you executed on that beautifully. Right. Yeah.
And then we took it one step more. So I came back to you, another quick conversation. Once again, I think this was another 5-minute conversation. And I'm going, okay, well, they're coming back and they're on the fence, they're heeing and hawing, and I just can't tip them over for these certain people. And that's where we started talking, okay, let's do this little pizzazz. Let's talk about a quick decider bonus where, okay, if you convert within the next 24 hours, we'll provide these additional services for no additional charge. Of course, detailing the value of the service in the legal services agreement and tangibly referencing that it is free. So they're tangibly touching something of value for the quick conversion and a reward for it. And I would say that that also is a very positive for those people that are on the fence. That is the kickover to where I've got people that are calling my team members the next day going, I've got to convert right now, because if I don't convert by noon, my 24 hours is over.
Yeah. That's the kind of client you want, right?
Exactly.
And it wasn't hard, and it didn't take anything. Like, the value you're giving them is so huge to them, and it's something that is relatively easy for you to do. It's well worth it. There's so much value add. Like, it's not just in case you're going to go execute on a quick decider bonus on your own in podcast land. You have to make it something that is a huge value to your client, but isn't necessarily going to create a ton more work for you. Okay. It needs to be something that is so of value, but is easy to execute on, so that you're not just piling on extra work for yourself. So I freaking love that. It's so good.
Exactly.
It's so good. Okay. So then let's go back to these little small course corrections. So we've talked about a couple of them. They've been very tactical course corrections around sales and how to approach that. What about the mindset pieces and how that integrates into the business side? Like, what can you talk about how, like, there've been these little course corrections in your way of thinking and perception that have helped?
Oh, let's talk about that as recent as today's immersion call that we had, my friend.
Okay.
So one of the things that I'm very observant of and very concerned about is the culture in my office. And as part of the culture in my office, I am constantly trying to take temperature of the water, shall we say. And I do a lot of reflection when I feel something has been stated of value, though I may not understand it in the moment. And we were talking about how one's inner reaction to an event can still shine through, even though verbally, if a transcript was taken, you were saying everything perfectly.
Yeah.
And not only since we had that conversation, and trust me, this was just a little nugget you threw at the end that I just concentrated on since the last time we had spoken. But the beauty of this, where it's be observant of how you're internally digesting something, because you're always going to shine it out, no matter how, I'm trying to think of the person from Leave It to Beaver, but the one that was always nice to June, but Eddie Haskell. So not very Eddie Haskell-esque,
Yeah.
And when you, excuse my language, you called me on my bullshit without, I don't think you knew that you were calling me, or you knew you were calling me on my bullshit.
I knew, I just wasn't calling it BS, right? I knew what was going on though.
Yes. Yeah. But what's the beauty of that is the timing of it couldn't be any better, because, for example, not only have I been very conscious of it with my team and my culture, but I had 2 very hot client situations today that I once again was very observant of how I was innerly digesting it in the moment. And what happened out of it was one person converted for almost $6,000, where at the beginning of the call, it was extremely hostile. And then my other was a client that had concerns about their client experience that I just gave them my ear in 20 minutes. And at the end of it, now they're on my maintenance plan for another year of continued relationship with me.
Isn't that amazing? So this was, I'm going to translate into my own words what
Yes.
I coached you on so that people can get some value from this. So if you are saying, wow, you look fabulous, but inside you're thinking, I cannot stand being around this woman, right? That woman will not know why she feels uncomfortable with you, why she feels threatened or dismissed or somehow basically uncomfortable. Okay. Not welcome.
Yes.
But the energy will be the strongest of the two modes of communication. It will take priority. So if you have a team member, and this happens with so many women in business. So let's say you give them something to do and they run the project and there are all these mistakes and a client gets back to you and there's like something, and this happens all the time in business, right? This is not an unusual thing. Okay. This is part of, yes, we go for excellence, and yes, things don't always work out as planned. If you respond by saying, this is what you should have done, and next time let's do this, and do you understand? But your energy behind it is you're a total F up. Okay. And, how could you possibly have been so stupid? And I'm saying this because ask me how I know. Okay. Right. Like I had to learn this myself, Shannon, and it's not my proudest moment by any means, but it's a transparent and honest moment to recognize that this is what I'm saying on the outside, and I'm like stamping a smiling face on it, but on the inside, I'm seething. That doesn't work. Okay. And the most powerful thing you can do is choose who you want to be. Okay. And you chose who you wanted to be. Yeah. So,
exactly.
I love that.
So,
and it translates to the money too. Like just like maintenance plan, new sale, all of that. Okay. Not to mention it will translate. You haven't had the experience of this yet, but to the loyalty and longevity of your team as well. So.
Exactly. And even some of these small checks that we've had, I mean, they've even gone to my relationship. If you'll recall, I've got a very, very supportive husband, but he was stressing financially, silently, until there was an explosion. And once again, I was doing I can't X, I can't Y, I've got to do firm, etc. And then in your own Amira way, you're like, well, you need to prioritize here. And in your prioritization, find resolution. And that's where we figured out how I asked my husband, how much do you need extra each month to feel comfortable? And he gave me a number. And I said, I guarantee you that you will have that number
and
divided per pay period.
Yeah.
And I have kept my word 100%. And what's even more unique about it in hindsight, where I thought that would have a financial dire effect on the firm, it's a blip on the radar at this point, where I was stressing out so bad about it previously that, once again, going off of that energy, if I'm in an energy of chaos happens around me.
Chaos and guilt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because the relationship with the husband, if he's stressing about money and he's stressing about money, but you're not dealing with it and you're putting all your money into the firm, which, by the way, is what like entrepreneurs do. It's like we feed the business because we know that it needs the money to grow. There, without a doubt, you have a marketing budget, you have a team budget, you have coaching budget, right? You have all the things, right? And so your inclination is to think, let's put it all into the business. And yet that was causing this emotional friction there, both on the surface, but also underneath the surface, that was then keeping you from, fully showing up and doing what you needed to do in your business.
Exactly. And like I said, a quick, immediate course correction with astounding ripple effects.
Yeah, I love it. He's so
Yeah.
much happier. He's still supporting you. He
Oh,
feels
100%.
like we got this. Look at this, all good. And you're off to the races, right? I mean, you've doubled your income, not insignificant. Okay. Not insignificant. So
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. So let's do a little flashback, because you've only been coaching with me, privately this year and in the Spirit of Wealth this year. But you came to a number of summits. Did you come to one or two summits? When did you first come? 3 summits. Okay. I love it.
Right.
Okay. And which was the first one? Was 2018 or 19?
18.
18.
And it was in Carlsbad, I think was where we were.
Okay. And I remember you were like in the front row, sitting at a table, and you had a very stoic look on your face. Like you were not like, now Shannon is like, she like radiates and glows, and she's got this giant smile and all of that. But the Shannon then, from my vantage point on the stage, was like this flat screen on her face. And I had no idea what was going on behind it. And that's the case with a lot of people in the audience, right? And you,
Yes.
as a speaker, you just roll with it. But my point in bringing that up is I would love for you to share like who you were when you first came to that summit. Like, why did you come, who you were, and how did the information that I shared land then versus the way it's landing now? Like, what has that evolution been?
When I first went, I actually went with my, she was my boss at the time, the woman I purchased the firm from. And I didn't really know what I was getting into. All that I was seeing is it felt, I'll be completely honest, it felt cult-esque almost. In my perception at that time with, talking about, the universal laws, and I'm like, hocus pocus, etc. And also because I was there, I felt as a representative of my employer's firm at that moment. I felt coming from corporate America, where I was doing corporate finance for over 13 years as a vice president of a national law firm, you don't react because any reactions you have are always scrutinized, shall we say.
Yes.
So I went from that. And then when I left, there was still something that had caught my attention, because before I left, I'd immediately signed up for the next summit. Because in my mind at that time, I'm going, well, I would really like to get some coaching. I'd love to do this Spirit of Wealth thing, but why would I ever do that as an employee? That doesn't make any sense. Why would I invest in myself when the investment in myself is actually for another? That was exactly what was going through my mind at that time.
So can I pause you there? That's
Yes.
fascinating. Okay. I love that you brought that up. I love that you brought that up, because it's a big deal for people. I have fewer people who are corporate, meaning they're, top level managers, directors, VPs in corporate. But when they are my clients, they recognize that the investment in themselves is an investment in their career. Okay. And I've helped people, 10 times their income in corporate, which has been like, how does that happen? But it happens because of the principles. I happen to specialize with working with women business owners, entrepreneurs, and so on. But if you're not in that realm, know that these same principles work. Okay. It's not just for business people, even though that's my sweet spot and who I, focus on helping. Yeah.
Exactly. So I remember, I think that you had reached out to me at that time after you personally, and I was very indecisive at that time. Then I attended my second summit. It's a little bit more comfortable. It was actually, I'm trying to remember where that one was, but I attended my second summit, much more comfortable. And now I'm hearing you say stuff that's having a little bit more understanding and application. And by the time that I hit my third summit, I was like, I'm sold. But what I will tell you, and you will recall this, though at present under your coaching, I am focused more on quick decision. Quick decision was not my methodology back then. And I believe it was my handicap, honestly, because I would say, no. And I just remember one conversation that you so graciously gave me, like almost an hour and a half, 2 hours of your time. And then I said no, and I was in tears saying no, and it was one of those things where I wanted it, but I was paralyzed in the jump.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that since then, who I am now, the quick decisions are the best things that you can ever do. Yeah. The quick decisions, the investments in yourself. If your heart yearns for it, go for it. I mean, silly example, but it's a big deal to me. And that is the Parisian immersion event that you are handling. I wanted it. I truly wanted it in my heart. I didn't feel I deserved it, is the best way to describe it. And then you and I worked through it. And I'm like, okay, yes, decision, yes. No regrets.
I love it. I love it. I'm super excited about how that's playing out. Like you stepped into that because you really wanted it. And let me step back from that, because I think it's the Parisian program where we're spending a week together, right? It's a year of coaching and other things that happen with it. But like we're spending a week in a small intimate group, which is like, 50 VIP days all wrapped in one,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to be a very immersive, intense experience and like everything paid for. And, we are staying at a friggin' amazing hotel. I'm super excited about that. Butlers. I keep saying that, but I'm like, I still can't wrap my head around like, oh, you can have a butler. I had no idea that there were hotels that came with butlers, but this one does. So, but I think one of the reason I'm going down this rabbit hole a little bit is because you've talked to me a lot about community. And I think,
yes.
The private coaching that we've done together has been absolutely like extraordinarily effective, right? You've made your quantum leap and it's going to keep going. Okay. And you joined the Spirit of Wealth, where you're doing, teaching calls and office hours and masterminding and all sorts of aspects to that. But I know from our one-on-one conversations that one of the biggest things that you've wanted to create for yourself has been a tribe of women, a community of women where you can be fully expressed, be yourself, that quite frankly are super smart and go-getters, yes. Right? And can keep up with you, but are of this generous spirit. So I'm talking too much, but can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that's a common issue for high achievers and entrepreneurs. Yes.
Yeah. As the saying goes, it's lonely at the top. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I feel in my professional career that I've never had, because I've been so focused on my professional career, is connection and camaraderie with people that I can call true peers, not coworkers, not subordinates, not bosses, but peers that are the same place on their journey, that are equally energized in the idea of the journey. And it almost sounds like a Greek sorority as I say this, but one of the big things I was most excited about with the Spirit of Wealth is to make connections with other women. Because what was I seeing? I was seeing Piper. I was seeing Wendy. I was seeing Lauren. I was seeing this connection of almost like spiritual nudity almost, that there's no barriers, there's no judgment, there's only support. And being a woman that's coming from corporate America in a financial industry that is a gray hair male environment, it was both foreign as well as, it was a beacon attracting me in the darkest, most turbulent times of my life. And what I'll emphasize is the connection is wonderful. The other reason the connection that's being made is so wonderful is these are people of diverse backgrounds in a diversity of businesses, because I think that it is both naive and improper to think that because I am an attorney, only an attorney can understand my problems. Only an attorney can help me on marketing. Only an attorney can talk to me about sales and marketing and podcasts and et cetera. But it's not true. It's all about the creation of the relationship and the environment of comfort, safety, and, serenity for our clients, regardless of who our clients are. And it is so unique that it's not the consistent vanilla you're always going to hear from the attorneys. We're getting, all 31 Baskin-Robbins flavors here, which is great. And lastly, the ability to be vulnerable is amazing, because we grow through our vulnerability. We find strength through vulnerability. And I have been vulnerable both with you and many others, such as Piper, Lauren, et cetera. And instead of usurping that vulnerability to their advantage, they take it as an opportunity to help build me and develop me within the invulnerability instead of abandon me in the vulnerability. And that has caused not only growth for myself, but also growth and trust in the relationship. I think that the trust is amazing. I've talked about many, many, many personal things that I wouldn't even want my husband to hear, but it is such a safe, secure, supportive environment that in and of itself does wonders. Because once again, we got to clean ourselves before we can start trying to attract others.
Yeah. I thank you for bringing that up, because that's such in my eyes, and I hear this from the women in the Spirit of Wealth. I hear this, Debbie was just telling me, sharing this in a private call the other day, that it's such a unique experience to be with other women where there is no judgment, right? There's nothing that is about cutting someone down, being better than some sort of hierarchy. It's just supportive. And I feel like every day I'm grateful for that somehow I have set a tone and attracted a certain type of woman who, and I say it overtly already, this is how we work here, just to emphasize it. And everyone's on board with it. It's like, and I see it, and it's incredibly powerful, because we very rarely get to be seen both in our strength, right? You are in your strength as a leader, as a lawyer, attorney to your clients, like all these places, you're really in that leadership, wisdom role. And we don't oftentimes have a space where you can step into the vulnerability role, where it's not a negation of your power, a negation of your wisdom. Like you can hold both, and your mastermind sisters can really see the wholeness of who you are, which is quite beautiful. So
Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed.
And in terms of the diversity, I love that there's a diversity in human beings, and in diversity in kinds of businesses, which I think is great. And then it's also nice because you've also met other lawyers there, which have,
Yes.
you guys support each other as well. So beautiful.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share about your journey that you think would be impactful for our audience?
The biggest thing that I would emphasize is you're worth it. Invest in yourself, because if you're not going to invest in yourself and you don't have trust in yourself, you have the true control over, then what are you investing in? Because it's not going to give you the same rewards as yourself. And know that you're worth it. And if your heart is calling you to do something, do it. Otherwise, the universe is going to push you off a cliff, and either you're going to fall or you're going to fly. So yes.
Spoken like a true, I don't know, Shannon. There you go. Okay. I freaking love it. Thank you so much for sharing your nuggets. I know my listenership will love everything that you shared, and keep flying high. You're rocking and rolling, and I can't wait for the next journey. And I can't wait for Paris. If you guys are listening, you're like, Paris, what is she talking about? And you're interested in Paris, book a consult with us and we'll tell you all about Paris, because or any program that you're interested in. Please just reach out to us and we'd be happy to share with that. So thank you again, Shannon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey there. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that episode. If you're ready to take it to the next level and want to make your income breakthrough, then I am personally inviting you to join us at the Unstoppable Woman Income Breakthrough Summit. It is happening November 5th, 6th, and 7th. And I would love to have you there, especially if you're someone who is high achiever, but hitting a block. I want to show you how to master your marketing, master your mindset, and master scaling your business and growing it to the next level. This is a 3-day immersive event. I will be the only one teaching you, and you'll get me for 3 full days. This is the place that people make their breakthrough, and I would hate for you to miss it, and I would love for you to be there. So please check it out at joinamiralive.com, and I'll see you there.